it is definitely religious in its overtones.
Yeah.
But it's an anti-gospel.
Mm-hmm.
There is no forgiveness. There is no redemption. And it just amazed me to see Christians latching on to maybe they weren't even latching on to this ideology, but they were latching on to the terminology of this anti-gospel. And I've said to people, it would be akin to someone in the church starting to talk about, Vishnu and Shiva and Nirvana and reincarnation, but all the while saying, no. I don't believe Hinduism, right? I just believe that, the ideas behind the words that they're using are important. And if that were happening, I think we'd be saying to that person, you know what, you need to choose some different words.
Yeah.
And you need to understand what those words mean and where those words come from. And because of what they mean and where they come from, you should not use those words. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do there. And then show how different the concept of anti-racism is from the concept of the gospel and reconciliation in Christ. And really that word forgiveness is what it comes down to, because there is no forgiveness in anti-racism.
Yeah.
Voddie, what have been like the book's been out now, and I've noted some people challenging various parts of the book or various dimensions of it. What have been the kind of the strongest objections, and what would you say to those? They say, hey, well, here's where I would think Voddie's off here. What are those? And then speak to them.
Yeah, I don't even know. One of the things that I've done, just for the sake of my own recovery during the time, is I've stayed away from all of that.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't gotten into all that. I haven't, paid attention to all that. I mean, the book's out there. There are going to be people, on various sides of it. I've seen some of the, outright dismissals of the book. My favorite is the guy who called it a straw man, slippery slope piece of trash after reading 2 pages.
Yeah, we're not going to mention Anthony Bradley's name, though, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I sent you that or not, but I've tried not to send you too much. But when I saw what Anthony Bradley said, that was such a joke. I mean, that was such a joke. That's ridiculous.
So it was because of things like that I decided, you know what, maybe right now is not the time for me to even delve into all of that. I'm sure the time will come. And again, my hope in the book as well, my hope is that it would be a flashpoint, right? My hope was that it would ignite some things, and that it would get people to talking about this, maybe with some common language, right? And maybe with some of these issues sort of laid out on the table, so that there would be a foundation from which to debate them. And that's my hope, is that it's a contribution to the debate. I don't think we should shy away from debate. I think we should run to this debate, because these things are essential, and some of them are dangerous. So I'm not in that yet. Eventually, I guess I will be, but I really enjoyed not being part of that.
That's a great part of being there in Jacksonville.
I envy you sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but Dana Loesch called it, one of the most powerful books she'd read in 10 years, I think. Something like that was just wonderful. And I'm getting those kinds of comments from folks that aren't as high profile as she is. One of the things that you do in this book is you show how the Southern Baptist Convention has been integral in the debates, especially with Resolution 9. And so you take Resolution 9 in its original form as it was submitted, and Resolution 9 as the Resolutions Committee from 2019 rehabilitated, I don't know what the word is, and brought it back.
Molded it a little bit.
Changed it. Yeah, changed it.
You give us
I think the words I used were gutted and rewrote.
Yeah, there you go. Gutted, rewrote. That works.
Think of a resolution as Play-Doh. You offer Play-Doh to the Resolutions Committee, and we shape it.
So, I mean, talk about that a little bit of what happened in 2019 with this Resolution 9 that came out. And I mean, that was far more significant than people realized at the moment, I think.
Yeah. And people that I've talked to who've read the book, and I had a number of people read the book before it came out and everything. And a number of people were aware of Resolution 9, but few people were aware that it was the opposite of the original resolution. Yeah. And, this came out in the documentary, the Bio Standard documentary, which I think really hit the nail on the head and showed what happened in a powerful way. But yeah, a lot of people had no idea that resolution was originally against critical race theory and intersectionality. And that not only unaware of the fact that the Resolutions Committee changed it, but unaware of the fact that two of the members of the Resolutions Committee were professors at Southern Baptist seminaries who have been teaching critical race theory, intersectionality, and Black liberation theology for a while before they changed that resolution. So, that's one of the things. And, we debated whether or not to spend a whole chapter on that, especially because it's very specific to the Southern Baptist Convention. But in the end, I decided that this was significant enough to warrant that whole chapter being spent on it. And I think it fits well within the flow of the book. And I think it really makes the point in a powerful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we've got this conference coming up. The SBC's coming up. We haven't had one for 2 years since that resolution. We didn't meet last year because of COVID, and trying to address that. I'm thinking of that looming conference now, only a month away, and your book as a flashpoint and as an advance in the conversation. Even in writing the book, it took you time to write this book, and the conversation's kind of going on about this issue. It seems to me that the general census now, and at least some of the conservative evangelical world, is that, we don't want to be fully woke, and social justice full throttle is bad. And even Resolution 9, I sense a lot of people backing away from it. Yeah, it was bad. And so it seems to me your book is really pushing that next conversation. Like, how did we get here, and what do we do about it? Do you have any solutions or any directions if you say, once you grasp there is a fault line here, what do we then do?
Yeah, and really that's chapters 10 and 11 in the book. And I go to 2 Corinthians 10, right? And I believe that Paul just really gives us a framework there, right? The weapons of our warfare, they're not carnal, but they're powerful for destroying strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God. And I think that's where we start. And then we take every thought captive. I think there are a lot of people who just want to run to the second part of that, right? Well, we need to take every thought captive, and we need to think positively about, how we, work together and reconcile and so on and so forth. But the first part of that is essential. We have to destroy lofty opinions, arguments and lofty opinions raised against the knowledge of God. We can't just ignore critical race theory and intersectionality and just sort of run to, let's love each other. We have to destroy that. We have to expose that. We have to dismantle that. And then move toward the second, part of that text. And I think that's what a lot of people have been trying not to do. People who've been looking for some sort of third way,
absolutely,
if you will, and I mean, isn't that always the case?
That's
right?
it, man.
There's this argument where brothers and sisters are pitted against one another, and instead of saying, let's go ahead and deal with this and have this out, right? Let's do the Luther and Erasmus thing. We just sort of say, no. 11th commandment, thou shalt be nice, right? Real Christians shouldn't have disagreements. So let's just act like, that hasn't happened and figure out how to find some sort of third way. And we can't do that.
Yeah.
There is no third way here. We have to address CRT, intersectionality, critical theory, so on and so forth. And these things have to be exposed for what they are. And then we move on. Because if we don't, then those things just continue to make headway. Because they're making headway in the culture at large. And they're definitely making headway in the church. And so we have to deal with that. And I think another place to look at is, Titus 1:9. What does Titus 1:9 say that we have to do? Hold firmly to the trustworthy word as taught, right? That's one. Have good theology, so that we might exhort in sound doctrine, right? Teach good theology. And then the third one, again, we don't want to do this, refute those who contradict it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the obligation of an elder, to refute those who contradict sound doctrine. So, I think we've got to do that. People have to know what these things are and where they come from, so that they can then understand why this fault line has emerged, and then move to the step of learning how to think rightly about these issues.
Yeah, Voddie, that's so well put. And I mean, there are proposals right now in the air, especially in the SBC, saying let's get the anti-CRT people on one side, and let's get the pro-CRT people on the other side, and let's come to consensus. Let's come to consensus. And they're good brothers, they're well-intended brothers, perhaps even making these proposals. But I look at that and say, there is no consensus. So what does light have to do with darkness? How can two walk together unless they're agreed? And I hate it, but I think your book is exactly rightly titled, these are fault lines, and you're going to be on one side or the other. You try to stand in the middle, you're just going to be ripped apart, because there is no middle ground here if we're going to be faithful to Christ. And that's a hard thing. And when people hear us say that and take this stand, they accuse us of breaking that 11th commandment, as you cited it. And, you guys are just so mean, and you're so unyielding, and you're unwilling to be entreated with wisdom. And it's not that. This is a right, wrong, a truth, error issue. And there's no compromise. The Resolution 9, the committee chairman, Curtis Woods, when he was arguing against an amendment that I'd proposed from the floor for that resolution, he said that critical race theory and intersectionality, we're saying these are simply analytical tools. And that's not true. I mean, you've shown in your book, this is a worldview. There are embedded philosophies. This has religion woven into it, religious commitments involved in it. And one of the things, talk about that in light of the Dallas statement, the statement on social justice and the gospel. You and I and some others participated in that. And I thought you had a very insightful perspective that Resolution 9 may well have been in response to the Dallas statement and trying to provide cover for those who are already teaching these views in seminaries and colleges.
Yeah, well, when the Dallas statement came out, there were a number of people who signed it, but there were also a number of people who were conspicuous in their absence signing the Dallas statement. Some of them said they had issues with signing statements, even though they had signed, Nashville and other things. But what I began to realize was that there were a number of people who, because of relationships that they had, and because of people who were in their camp, who were on the wrong side of these issues, who were essentially espousing critical race theory and intersectionality, there were a number of people who because of that, didn't want to sign the statement on social justice. They weren't against it. They weren't writing papers against it. They weren't talking about, here are many ways in which they've erred, so on and so forth. They were just saying that, pastorally, we think it's insensitive, which is kind of a roundabout way of saying you're going to offend people who, are essentially teaching, CRT and intersectionality. And I think that original resolution was born out of that soil, where people who looked at the statement and saw the statement as something that made sense. And simultaneously, we're looking around at some of the big names in evangelicalism, even some who said that, who would have said that they were against critical race theory, against intersectionality, so on and so forth, but they wouldn't sign the statement. And so I think that original resolution was a way to sort of smoke some of this out, and basically give an ultimatum, if you will. And I think it's ironic that original resolution was gutted and rewritten the way that it was, so that it became an ultimatum in the other direction.
Yeah, that statement really is. I can't get away from that. I know it's an appendix in your book, but it does seem like a tangible way to see the fault line. And again, all of us signed that document, right? I think James White signed that document. Mm-hmm. Doug Wilson signed that document. You've got Chris Larson of Ligonier Ministry signed that document and says our board thinks it's a timely or great piece, something like that, very publicly about it. You don't have a single Southern Baptist Seminary president that signed that document. I mean,
not many professors, only a couple of professors.
Very, very small number of professors in Southern Baptist seminaries. And I remember stepping back as I saw that unfold. I said, wow, that is, there is a way to tangibly see this fault line.
But if you understand that in a number of our Southern Baptist seminaries, there were professors who were teaching this stuff, then you understand why it would be difficult for seminary presidents or fellow professors to sign on to this document, because this stuff was there. These guys were there, and a number of these people are Black professors. So here's the Southern Baptist Convention, who for years has been bending over backwards, not only to apologize for racism in history, but also to say, no, we want to see, Black people in the convention. We want to see Black leaders in the convention. We want to see Black professors at our seminaries. We want to see Black presidents of our seminaries and of our convention. And so you start investing. I remember as a young seminarian, guys investing in me, guys who saw potential. I remember, and I write about it in the book, Paige Patterson, who, brought me and another brother over to his home. He and Dorothy, fed us a meal and talked about how he wanted to see us put in the work so that we could advance in the Southern Baptist Convention, so that it could never be, seen as tokenism, because we put in the work, right? And so now all of a sudden you see a number of Black professors at Southern Baptist seminaries, and these seminaries are very proud of that. They've worked long and hard to cultivate these guys and to get them into these positions. And all of a sudden these guys, some of them, are teaching CRT, they're teaching intersectionality, they're teaching Black liberation theology, they're promoting it publicly when they're going and speaking in different places. So what do? Do you fire these guys and have everybody come and say, oh, we knew you really didn't mean it? Mm-hmm. Or, what do you do? Because that's the position that these guys were in. Yeah. Because we know that the minute you fire a Curtis Woods or a Jarvis Williams, or the minute you fire, Walter Strickland, the minute you fire, and again, I don't know all the names, but again, the minute you fire these people, what is going to be said? It's going to be said that you're racist, that you wanted Black bodies but not Black voices.
Interest convergence.
That the minute these guys got too Black, you got rid of them, yada, yada, yada. And so, this was a very difficult position for guys to find themselves in. And I think it goes a long way in explaining why at least some of them decided to shy away from the Dallas statement.
Yeah. I think it's in your book, isn't it? Maybe we just talked about, I know it's in the book about Tony Dungy's statement. You can know when we're not being treated as tokens, not when they hire us, but when they fire us, when they're willing to fire us. And you're being treated on the basis of the merits and, your competencies on that point. And it's fascinating to see the exact opposite happening out of a fear, of having those accusations brought against you that, you're not sincere in treating people of different ethnicities all the same on the basis of their competencies.
And the great irony in that is that's when you're actually telling me I'm not a brother.
That's right.
That's when you're telling me that you don't respect me. When this white professor over here can't get away with deviating from the truth, but I can get away with deviating from the truth, and it's because I'm black, then you're saying you don't have the same expectation of me.
Right.
And that's there's that soft bigotry of low expectations.
That's
right.
Exactly.
And it's so ironic that this was happening in a number of instances.
Yeah. Voddie, I can't get away from the fact that the title of your book, it just shines the light exactly where it needs to be shined on the fact that there are fault lines among evangelicals, and you're going to stand on one side or the other. You can't play the middle. You can't not choose sides because these ideologies have permeated our culture. They are coming into our churches and evangelical institutions, and either you're going to stand against them, or even if you're not promoting them, you're going to be complicit and allowing them to come. And that's been made crystal clear to me. And I just am compelled. I mean, I look at my grandkids and I think, I don't want to die without having tried to do what I can do to sound the alarm, to stand against this, to refute these pagan ideas that are contrary to the gospel of Jesus. And if they come into our institutions and our churches, to say to those who are complicit in allowing them to do so, look, we're not on the same team. We're not practicing the same religion. And I love you. I wish you would repent. If you refuse to repent, we can't walk together.
That's exactly right. And it's for that reason you need to go and buy this book, Fault Lines by Voddie Baucham. And we have the joy of giving away a few copies.
That's right.
We're going to give away 3.
Let's do 3 copies.
3 copies. And to enter in to get one of those copies that we're giving away, you got to share with, what do you need to say with it?
Just say, this is a great book. And every Christian ought to read it.
Best book I haven't yet read.
Or something like that.
I know it's
just
good.
Commend the book. Yeah. Everybody loves this book. I'm going to read it one day if I get a free copy.
Say something like that. Tag Founders so we know, and we're going to be sending 3.
You gotta pass the bill. To find out
what's in the bill.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And hey, the more you share, the more you retweet, the more you like, the more you pass it around, the more opportunity you'll have to be drawn when we get all those names together. And we're going to give away 3 of these books. And it's a dynamite book. It's on the bestseller list. We hope it goes all the way to #1, despite the efforts of some to keep it hidden in the back rooms of their bookstores.
That's right. That's right. Voddie,
thanks, brother.
It's been so great to see you, brother. We are continuing to pray for you as you recover and rejoicing at God's grace and how he's worked over these past months.
Yeah, and we look forward to hearing this whole story. I've told lots of people there's an incredible story of God's providence behind all that happened, beginning back even in the latter part of 2020 to bring you to where you are today, health-wise, and what God's done. So, man, I know you're taking notes, so get ready to tell that story at the right time.
Yeah, and also, I just have to say thank you to you, Tom, and the Founders for everything you guys did on our behalf to support us and to raise funds for us and to give people updates for us. I mean, brother, you will just never know how much that meant to me and to my family this side of glory. And on behalf of all of us, I just want to publicly just say we are grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful.
flicker out. Silence screams from broken souls, no doubt. Concrete jungle traps us grinding down. Lost in the echo, shadows pull me drown. Streetlights buzzing, whispers in the dark. Neon shadows glowing, leaving marks. Pavement breathes out stories old and cold. Past and future twisting, all unfold. We are lost in neon nightmares. Ghosts of dreams, electric flares. Running fast but going nowhere. In the maze we live in despair. Rise mechanical and raw. Vocal cords electric through the straw. Wires tangled, clenching like a vice. Heartbeat sings with thunder, rolling dice. Falling stars and shattered glass confound. Broken mirrors scattered on the ground. Synthetic whispers tell us we're alive, but the ghosts of dreams begin to thrive. Hearts electric, pulses racing, burn lost in time, nowhere we'll ever learn. Haunting melodies, they fade away, but the memories are here to stay. In the distance, a flicker of light. A single star cuts through the endless night. A tiny spark, a whispered prayer. Maybe hope can bloom even here in the neon air.